really skeptical. But now, if you look at the global scene, they're using M-Pesa as a case study in the American universities, even in Harvard. So I think we can give ourselves a round of applause for that one. You know, they are actually studying models that are working within Kenya, and that is in the fintech space. Another example is Mobius. How many of you have heard of Mobius? Great. They're actually manufacturing cars for the Kenyan and African market. Imagine, right here in Kenya, we're manufacturing cars piece by piece, and they're going around the country showcasing what they're doing. And that is in the mobility space. The other example I can give is Market Force. How many have heard of Market Force? A few techies I'm sure of. Market Force is a Kenyan B2B commerce and fintech marketplace. Now, the reason why they're so exciting is because they did a fundraising recently. And they actually closed a fundraising round of $40 million. That is the largest fundraising cycle they have seen within East and Central Africa. And guess where? Right in Kenya. So another round of applause. Like, we're in the right space. We're in the right space, okay? So with all these innovations, it now brings the aspect of global competitiveness. Kenya now can compete on a global scale because we have the right solution for the right market, and we're able to even package that solution to even access external fundraising. Now, there have been a lot of efforts in building a conducive ecosystem, and today I'm so privileged to have the honor of our panelists who will now give us even deeper insights and even ideas and open up opportunities for us to commercialize. We have two objectives for the session. One is to highlight the current opportunities and policies for businesses and startups to ensure they remain competitive and also compliant as they operate. The other one is just to highlight the great work that each stakeholder is actually doing in supporting startups and SMEs, and even how they've even been able to work with diverse partners to increase their own value even within the Kenyan ecosystem. So without further ado, I'd like now each of my panelists to have a chance to introduce themselves, where they're coming from, a brief bio of yourself, brief, and also expectation of the day.
Thank you so much, Mercy. My name is Kimai. I'm the country manager for YGAP Kenya, and YGAP supports startups. I've been having this conversation of startups all week at our booth at the Pony Innovation Week. And the conversation has been, sometimes Safaricom considers itself a startup. And you guys are startups. So what do I mean by startups? And the thing is, in Kenya, where we thrive is in starting businesses. That one we do so well. And that is why we are attracting all these people. But the problem is, because we are just used to picking something and running with it, we sometimes don't get ourselves to do it in processes, in systems and processes. So someone wants to give money, but then they can't pinpoint exactly what you've been doing. You are selling stuff and people are just paying you via your mobile money. You don't understand that you can get a pay bill number and then get a statement and present that to someone who wants to support you. Or you've been doing accounts in your head. You don't know that you can pick a book and write an Excel worksheet that shows what you have been doing. So that's what YGAP does. It picks businesses, first of all, breaks them down to understand exactly what you're doing and why you're doing it. Because then there's this thing that we always say, the first question that we ask you when you join the program is, why do you do what you do? If you had no money today, would you still be doing that? Do you see yourself doing the same thing in 5 years' time? And you start seeing people actually hesitating and wondering, because then they didn't think that far. But we have to start thinking that far. We want funding. We want $40 million coming to you. But for someone to invest that kind of money, they need to see where your future is. For you to show where your future is, you have to show where you have come from and where you're currently. We can only project the future because of where we are currently. So that's what we do at YGAP. We are in Kenya, South Africa, Australia, Bangladesh, and the Pacific program. And speaking about female entrepreneurs not being very well supported, we also have a YHA program that focuses on female entrepreneurs. So this one is the Africa one and the Pacific one, because then we believe the same thing. We can't be having, I'm sorry, just me seated here. We need a couple more to balance it out. I'm not saying that we need a lot more women here. I'm saying, can we balance it out? Can we make sure that women are thriving in businesses? So that becomes our key focus. The other key focus that we are looking for is sustainable businesses, because then that's huge. I mean, we are saying we are doing things, we are revolutionizing everything, but then again, we need to stay in a planet that survives all this technology, all this revolution. So then what we need to do is to make sure that we are focusing on your impact. So it's fine. We have spent the first few days making you money. Now we need to know how you're getting sustainable and how you're measuring that sustainability. So those are two things that we do. Help you creating system and help you make sure that sustainability is up there for you. That's YGAP.
Wow. Thank you, Carol. It's big shoes to fill to come after you. So hi, thank you for being here. My name is Didier Appels, and I'm a social entrepreneur, and I work for Close the Gap, but I also have other businesses. And the red line for me is that you can combine profit and impact. Social businesses are not about charity. They're not about donations. They're not about grants. It's about building a business that can live on its own, that can grow on its own, that can generate money to thrive, to be profitable, but that can also have a positive impact. For me, those two can go together. They need to go together. They really need to. If you want to have a world for our children and the children of our children, we need to rethink the way of using the planet. And I think circular economy is one part of the solutions. So for me, as an entrepreneur, that's key. Making sure that we can have sustainable business models that we can actually build and duplicate. If you go to Close the Gap, why Close the Gap? What brings us here? Close the Gap was founded by Olivier van den Einde. I'm sure you all have seen him, I think now 19 years ago. And the backbone of what was founded then is still the backbone of Close the Gap today. We are about reusing computers. And why do we reuse computers? Because we think that it's important to have access to tools. We want to be an enabler. If you have a computer, you have connectivity, you have a window to the world. With that, you can build a business, you can study, you can work at university, you can apply for a job. It's a tool. We want to give everybody access to the tool and then enable you to do whatever you want to do with it. Be it cosmetics, be it agriculture, be it a platform, be it something else. It doesn't matter, because we believe that if we give you the tools, you will be able to build a business to solve local issues. And don't underestimate yourself. You're very innovative in Kenya. That's really, from a European perspective, something that I want to give. I'm always inspired by no, honestly, it's true. It's inspirational for us to see how you guys can actually have a lot of energy and a lot of creativity with very often limited means. And it's a good thing, it's a strong thing. And then next to that, if you look at the creativity that you have, the problems that you face may seem to be local problems, but they are actually global problems. If you think of the issue of plastic laying around, there's also plastic in Bangladesh on the street. And if you think of the issue that we have many mouths to feed, that's a global issue. So local issues are global issues. And if you can think of local issues and local solutions, think big, dare to think big, and there I follow you. You have to think how you can make it grow, because Kenya is indeed one of the economies that has a lot of potential, and I'm sure that you guys can actually make it happen. To come back to Close the Gap, and the reason that I'm very happy to sit here, this is actually an innovative concept itself. So it's a tent that is built as a house with the comfort of a house, but it can be broken down and built again. So it's a circular concept. So I'm very proud to be able to talk to you guys today about innovation in an innovative location. About Close the Gap again, the focus on computers is still the core business of Close the Gap. So we are about reusing IT assets as much as we can. We do that out of Europe, but we also have a hub here in Kenya, and we want to have more local hubs as well in South Africa, West Africa. We want to grow that business. That is still the core of what we do. But because we see that with computers people start building businesses, we want to have support for that as well. And that actually generated the entire idea of the Close the Gap Hub, that generated the partnerships, that creates programs to actually have support for young entrepreneurs. But again, think of us as an enabler, and we just want to make sure that you guys can do the job. That's us.
Thank you. Tony Onwansa is my name. And currently I serve as the CEO of Kenya National Innovation Agency. That's a government, semi-autonomous government institution that was set up and began operations in 2020, late 2020, to develop and manage the national innovation system. And I saw some questions about what funds do we give, and I want us to see the difference between an agency that I work in versus programs that different institutions run. Our job is to try and ensure a national system functions. That means an academic institution does what they have to do to spur innovation. They have to do what they have to do. ASEC does what they do to energize innovation. There will be a facilitator, there will be a funder, there will be a policymaker somewhere, and so on and so forth. But prior to joining Kenya Innovation Agency, I have been at the University of Nairobi for about 8 or so years, where we started some of the early hubs like C4D Lab, and started forums like Nairobi Innovation Week, which were largely to try and energize and inspire and help people to see, yeah, there's a new way of looking at this. And one of the joys that I have out of that process is when first-class students would come to me and say, I'm not looking for a scholarship to go for master's and PhD. I'm actually going to start a startup. And you're like, okay, now that, and I say, why? Because I have realized that I'm mentally strong. Because somehow the education system may have been constructed to make the climax be a professor, all right? So that if you're sharp, yeah, then the ultimate is a professor, all right? So that's what you strive towards, PhD and so on and so forth. But that didn't have to be the only option. And that became very energizing. And I started realizing the power of the education system and how it helps youth see things a bit differently. So a classic example is we started what we call a University of Nairobi Innovation Fellowship. This one would take students from different disciplines, all right? We make sure there are different disciplines. Then number two, we take real life challenges that people face outside there in some company, in some government, and so forth. And then you will take them through skills of design thinking, user-centered design, technology appreciation, and so forth. And some would make very amazing and potentially sustainable solutions because they could see things from different dimensions and so forth. And I really started realizing the power of engaging the youth in good time with the appropriate mindset and skills, and then they make enterprises that create lots and lots of jobs and solve problems. Actually, those students that you just mentioned who at Salesforce were my students out of C4D Lab. I don't want to take credit, but it demonstrated to me what it means when you inspire someone at fairly early age.
Maybe you can clap for him. That means after I'm done, I'll also get some claps. Yeah. So my name is Collins Omondi Odango. I work at JKUAT. JKUAT stands for Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology. I'm the deputy director there. Been there for like over 10 years. A brief on JKUAT, we are at Ambalal. We have 5 floors there. We offer training in business, ICT, public health. We have programs in certificate, diploma, degree, masters, all the way to the PhD level, right here in Mombasa. But apart from that, as JKUAT, we are also a center of short courses, excellence short courses, 1 week, 2 weeks, where we have corporates and different customers with specialized need, and we are able to train them within 1 week or 2 weeks. We usually do that 4 times in a year. And we've seen quite a number of corporates coming with specialized need, capacity building in different areas. And that's something which we've really done well at the coast. And of course, we package those short courses with networking and of course tourism. It's in one package. So most of our customers come from the other parts where they come for those short courses. We take them to Malindi and so forth. Yeah. So apart from that, maybe something else that most people don't know about JKUAT, where we are. We host the Maritime Technology Cooperation Center, an office which represents the whole of Africa, just here at Mombasa campus. What does this office do? That office was born out of a partnership effort between JKUAT, Kenya Maritime Authority, and Kenya Ports Authority. We did a bid, I remember some few years back, where there are 5 MTCC offices in the whole globe, in the whole world, and they needed one which will represent Africa. So JKUAT, we did a bid, and of course we partnered with KMA and KPA on maritime aspects. We are all aware of the climate issues, the aspects of low carbon emission. So we wanted to see how, when ships come to dock at Kenya Ports Authority, how can we have offshore power where the diesel engines are shut and the ships are powered without the carbon emission. So as JKUAT, we took that lead, and we were competing with various countries in Africa, and it was a big bid of millions of US dollars, and we were able to win that bid, and that office came right here at the campus, something that most people don't know. And of course, because of our location, maritime issues are very dear with the blue economy. So I'm very excited to be here and humbled to be part of this panel, and I'm looking forward, we engage. Feel free to really ask and engage us so that we are, and I know I'll also learn something from you. Otherwise, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm just keeping a mental note that also we have audience on this side, so you can be able to see the panelists. But I think for the entrepreneurs, you've seen how they've pitched their organizations. Huh? That's how you need to do it in depth. Give statistics, strategic partnerships. Huh? So I can actually use JKUAT as one of the examples.
Thank you very much. And before I forget, how many JKUAT students do we have here? Oh, okay. I thought that hand was up. Thank you.
They're with you in spirit. Great. So jumping into the topic of today's discussion, Dr. Onwansa, let me start with you. You talked about the National Innovation Week. So last year you held the Kenya National Innovation Week, and that was in December 2021, and you had lots of discussions with different stakeholders and thematic areas of discussion. So I wanted to ask you, what do you consider as the pillars of innovation? And then also looking at the conference, what are some of the outputs or the key takeaways that came out of the conference that you think can actually be relevant in our today's topic, which is powering the innovation and startup growth?
Okay, thanks very much. That's definitely a question that a number of us can comment on based on the context that they come from. But in the context of the Innovation Week, we picked 4 pillars. It's not like these are the only 4 pillars, but we picked 4 pillars because we thought they really are crucial in powering the innovation system. The first is skills and talent development. Skills because you need to be able to know how to identify a good problem, critically analyze it from all dimensions, and then begin to think through meaningful solutions. And by skills, it goes beyond the technical skills, but also your ability to present, to pitch, to convince, to persuade. The skills you need in doing research is different from the skills you will need to make a sale, and so on and so forth. So skills is one pillar we felt. And that also points to the ability to sell, and the confidence that you can be part of a solution, all right? Otherwise, it's very easy to have the technical know-how, but then lack the capacity to get out there and aggressively compete. And that's a skill that you develop. And probably I might not get that skill in school. I might practice it by engaging, connecting, and build it. So that's one. Technical skills, soft skills, you range them. The second is tools. And probably that also connects with the conversations we have here. Tools, and that's where the technology comes in. 4IR comes in there. Because if I give you the skills and you think through the problems that you're able to solve, you need the tools to enable you to solve that. And the more you think about forward-thinking tools, technology in particular, the better. And then the third is more of commercialization. of methodology. That's a methodology, the how. So if I have this great idea and I need to get to market, then I'm talking commercialization. How do I translate to commercial value? And then the fourth pillar we picked is actually the skills of running an enterprise. Because having, yes, to set it up is one thing, but to grow it, to nurture it, to build it, confidently say, I'm the CEO and founder, and this is what I do every day. You know, ability to run that enterprise, we found that very crucial. Now, there are other, of course, pillars, but that's what really stood out. In the context of the outputs of the Innovation Week, the report is actually available on a website called kenyainnovationweek.com, and we launched it last month. But I want to highlight a few things that I think stood out. First of all, it became very clear that we need some sort of master plan, some sort of national direction for the next X number of years. And we're looking at a 10-year roadmap. This transcends regimes, all right? It is based on the identification of the strengths and the opportunities that we already have, and we are able to identify very specific targets that we want to work towards, and how we measure our progress on an annual basis or whatever frequency. So that stood out. Second, I think the other thing is skills on technology became like a very big deal. And some of the pressure we'll be putting to people like him as Kenya is we want to see standardization in the efforts of innovation hubs. I'm going to Tung tomorrow, and I'm going to put a little pressure on there. It's building the right skills for the next generation is so obvious. We don't know about tomorrow now, but we have a responsibility to build capacity for tomorrow. And that's how complex the equation becomes. But you have to do something. All right? Of course, issues of commercialization, digitization, and so on and so forth, including setting up of an innovation fund, are some of the things that stood out. And we'll talk more and more. Otherwise, if I go on, I'll list until we can't stop.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ari. And I think just speaking from what you're saying about the framework and standardization, I'd like now to also ask the other panelists, what are some of the support you're actually giving the startups?
Can I, before we go to that question, can I maybe add on to what was said on specific on innovation? Because there was one thing that I noted. I took several mental notes, but one thing that stood out for me is if you look at skills, think of indeed I would say the classical skills. So you need to build skills, you need to learn that, you get that from experience and from schooling, and so both are important. But also think of personality traits. We all have skills because of who we are, because of what we have experienced, and try to have diverse teams. We talked about gender balance, men, women, but also think about having somebody on your team who's really stubborn, and have somebody who is really funny, and have somebody who can sometimes be lazy, because lazy people tend to be smart sometimes on how they operate. So, don't surround yourself with like-minded people, because then you will get like-minded ideas. Go for diverse skills. And if you look at the Close the Gap team, I'm very humbled and proud to be part of the Close the Gap team, but if you look at the Close the Gap group, we're a very diverse team. And we have fun, and sometimes we irritate each other, but it's the diversity that makes it work. And if you understand how you can use each other's strengths, that can really build a team. That was one thing that I wanted to add. And then another thing, innovation for me, it's just an open mindset. You can think about frameworks and methodologies, and you need to do that, and that's key. But on the other hand, just have an open mind. Think of a 3-year-old child that asks why all the time. And if we talk about computer packaging, why isn't that biodegradable? I don't know. Let's see what we can do. So just have an open mind. What is happening? And why is it happening? And how could it be different? And what do we need? And that open mind combined really can have some interesting discussions coming from it. So the open mind, I think, would be the first thing. And again, coming back to the strength of Kenyan people, I think, don't wait for opportunities to come to you. Innovation isn't planned on a Monday morning at 10 with your first coffee or with your second coffee. It's really that mindset that you have throughout the day, and then the rest will come.
And I think I like what you're saying, because innovation is not complex, right? We all assume that innovation is writing 5,000 lines of code, or like what you're saying, trying to create some sort of standardized framework. But it's about finding where is the gap and how can you actually fill it in. So sometimes innovation could be all around you, and that's why we're having such great discussions with these great people, but also there's a lot of peer learning that also we can learn from each other. So thank you for that insight. Yeah. So just going now a bit deeper on how you actually support innovation within your own programs and even the services that you offer to entrepreneurs. How does that look like?
Yeah, sure. It's interesting that everything that we are discussing, we could actually be sitting in different rooms and you would think that our minds are synced, because then it's the same repeated thing and it's what we have realized. And again, Mercy, like you're saying, innovation is not a big thing. Innovation is what makes you different, or what is that new thing that you're adding to your business. And when you talk about making sure that what you're saying, that what kind of entrepreneur or which people are you surrounding yourself with? We have a couple of YGAP entrepreneurs. There's Masomo Poto and Robert. And the one thing that we tell them, yes, that's fine. You've been doing all these things. Can we first of all forget about what you've been doing? Assume you don't have a business. And that shocks them. Because then when you're applying to the program, what you think is happening is that you're being told, okay, these are the tools that you're going to need. This is what a business model canvas looks like. Here, take it and apply to your business. But then we tell you, I put it to you that you don't know what you're doing. And that one makes people feel like I should have not have come to this program. And by day 4, they are saying, okay, now I see it. Because then that is where now you start thinking, anybody can do what I'm doing. Anybody can do recyclable bags, but what makes you different? What is that unique thing that you have that makes you different? If someone else was to come and pick up the business that you're having, what makes you think that they won't do it better than you? And these are the hard questions that we need to ask ourselves. We've always told ourselves that we are a copy-paste sort of society, but I don't think we are. We are innovative. It's only that there is always an edge that you can put. And that is what we train our entrepreneurs to think. Again, when you were speaking about pillars, what I was thinking was the other one that is very important is the systems and processes, and the leadership bit of it. The people around you and the systems and processes that you put in place. Because, for example, how you're saying that the problems that we have are everywhere else in the world. So then the question that is put to you is, if you were to pick that solution, can it be put somewhere else and it works? That's how a business works. You can't just think just here. Don't even think globally. If I picked that business and took it to Bungoma, or I took it somewhere else, would it still thrive? If it can't, then why are you doing it? If you can't sell a product, and we're having this conversation, if you cannot sell a product, if you can't just sell one piece of what you think you're creating, then why are you creating it? Maybe you should be doing something else. So our main thing, it's not about teaching you. Of course, we're going to teach you about business, model canvas, and your value proposition, and all those sweet things that you're going to get in any business school. But our radical thing is to tell you, I put it to you, you don't know what you're doing. You could be doing something better. To shock your system into thinking that by the time the end of the week, the first bit of the program is a 1-week acceleration program. And it starts from Sunday, the minute you get in, all the way to Friday. People sleeping at 3 a.m. These two can already tell you. But then, of course, there's the support that we give, which is up to 3-year support, and that includes small rounds of funding and anything that a startup needs. You haven't thought about your taxation. You haven't thought about your legal processes. You haven't thought about all these things. So that's where we come in. But what we are telling you is, by the time you're investing your time in all these other things, when Friday reaches, you should be singing your business. You see what you are being told, I need you to explain your business to me properly. I need to understand it. By Friday, you're singing your business so well, such that even if someone came back and still put to you that question of, I don't think you know what you're doing, you are going to stand tall and explain to them why you're doing what you're doing and why it is important for you to do what you're doing. So the business is fine, but then the why is even more important.
Can I add to that? Because you actually inspired me with something that we discussed earlier, and if you think about it, we talk about building businesses. But entrepreneurship is about more than just building businesses. It's about creating entrepreneurial people. I've seen academia that are very entrepreneurial in their studies. I've seen employees that are very entrepreneurial in their business as well. So it's just about being entrepreneurial. And I think if you look at humanity, and I may become a little bit philosophic now, but if you look at humanity, life has never been so good on the planet for the human race, and life has never been so challenging. We have a climate crisis, we have a pandemic raging, we have war, we have conflicts that are in the media, we have conflicts that are not even in the media. So there is a lot of challenges, so we need that entrepreneurship to be able to solve it. And the good thing is a lot of opportunities are there and a lot of great minds are there, but we will need that entrepreneurship to think and to act. Otherwise we will never get out of this mess that we're in. But think of the opportunities. So we will need a good doses of optimism as well. And that's what I always like if I come to Mombasa, that the optimism is there.
Go for it. I'll come last.
Thank you. So the support that JQuat, I'll start with Mombasa, where it's headed by Dr. Frida Simba. We usually do industry mentor talks. We've invited people like Konza CEO for those mentorship talks, Kenya National Chamber, Commerce and Industry. Very soon we are looking for the CEO here also to come. And in those industry mentor talks, of course, different topics, entrepreneurship, innovation. We also give a platform where our students can be able to showcase some of their products, you know, when people come, and this one is usually open to the public. Of course, the last 10 years we've had different boot camps over the last 10 years, Intel, Google developer and so forth in the campus, and of course this is open to our students and also the public, and a lot of technology adoption has happened in the last decade because of those boot camps. And of course we've also worked closely with the Close the Gap, Swahili Port, Tech Bridge, because we believe that the output, that is our students who finish, definitely their inputs. So we share their programs. When we get their programs, their competitions, we share with our students, and they're able to attend that. I've also been privileged to be a judge to Close the Gap, the Climathon. I've also been a judge at Swahili Port, the online, just to support that innovation ecosystem, and also Tech Bridge. So we continue to work together. Apart from that, we've done several ICT expos. We started way back, especially just having a general ICT expo, and then we went now to focus on the secondary schools, because we saw a gap where our inputs come from the secondary school children, and most of the times we noticed when they come, they don't have that mind, the entrepreneur mind, most of them, and then that innovative mind. So we started also taking our focus there, where we'll visit these schools just to mentor them and give them an opportunity to showcase what they can at their level. And we've done that successfully. And recently we had a COVID-19 competition, innovation competition challenge, where 10 secondary schools were involved. We partnered with the Mombasa County Government, Department of ICT, Mr. Anwar. We also partnered with the Suleiman Shabal Foundation. And it was amazing just seeing what the secondary school kids were able to do in the finals. The final competition was graced by our Vice Chancellor, Professor Ngumi, Victoria, who came all the way to grace the finals, and she was able to give the winners prizes. And out of that competition, the Vice Chancellor invited the top 3 to come to Juja. In Juja, we usually have what we are calling the JQuat Tech Expo. That was last year. So the Vice Chancellor graciously invited the top 3 schools to go to Juja. And it was amazing. After that invite, the Suleiman Shabal Foundation said they'll pay for their transport. And then we took around 15 kids, secondary kids, with their teachers all the way to Juja. They were housed in a research institute, a very nice facility, and we were able to take them around. In Juja, we have what we call Innovation and Prototyping Center. We took those kids there, and they were able to see the different tools that we have, the 3D tools, all the way for prototyping. And then, of course, they were given a tent at the JKUAT Tech Expo, of which the CEO of Kenya, Dr. Tony Mwanza, was the chief guest. And he was amazed also to see those secondary school children. Apart from that, we were also involved with the robotics program with the county. And one thing that as JKUAT we believe in this statement that says, Samaki mkunje angalimbichi. I know my friend is floating there. Samaki mkunje angalimbichi. Maybe you can try saying that? No. Okay, I'll explain. So we believe in having an innovation culture being set right from the kids all the way to the university, so that when we receive these students at the university, then already they have an entrepreneurial mind, they have an innovative mind. So we've partnered with the Department of ICT, Mombasa County, and we were involved in the competition, the robotics competition for ECDs. I was the head of the judge, and it was amazing just seeing at that level what young minds can be able to do. Currently, at the Pwani Innovation Week, of course, we've worked closely with Swahili Pot, and we've also been able to exhibit some of our innovators at Swahili Pot. And yesterday, they were pitching before Safaricom, and 3 of them already, I hear Safaricom is interested with what they're doing. So what do we do as JKUAT? We don't just let it there. In Juja, we have a department which is concerned with intellectual property, IP, and of course, some of us went through that experience, and that's why we're very passionate in helping young people. If I had time, I would tell you a bit of my experiences when after college, but I'll leave that for next time. So once our students, they've gotten feedback from the different panels, and we've seen that indeed that innovation sees the light of the day. We take it up, and we also advise them in terms of the copyright and the patent issues. The university takes that up, and like today at 4, I have an online meeting with the person in charge of IP, just to help some of these student innovators in terms of protecting their innovations. Yeah. Otherwise, those are some of the aspects that we do as a campus. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I think, Dr. Ari, I'll come back to you.
Yeah.
Just to remind people that we are live streaming on the Close the Gap Facebook page, so please invite your friends. I think it's a very important discussion to have and be part of, so tell your friend to tell the other friend. Close the Gap Facebook page is the market to access the right information about innovations, right? So just going back into academia, and I think also we had a discussion about this previously before coming on stage. Academia plays a very critical role in terms of mobilizing resources and even coming up with quality research that entrepreneurs can actually use in building their business models, as Carol has just mentioned. How is this incorporated within the Kenyan innovation ecosystem, and what can be done to actually enhance it to ensure that there's proper linkage between commercialization and research? So I think Onwansa, you can answer that, and then we can give it to Collins. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. You know, if I was going to answer the question, what is it that I do or we do to support, the answer would have been, I try to make sure these guys are doing their job. That's it, you know. If they do and they are enabled and facilitated, you know, that's very crucial. So, of course, we're building most of our systems now for national innovation coordination. We're building digital platforms for tracking and identifying and figuring out needs and visualizing how to support. We're designing something we're calling an innovation bridge, which is going to try and link innovations that you have come up with that are struggling to get partners or funders, and you can use that as a platform to support. But let's come back to your question around research and commercialization. You see, that's one of the components in a national innovation system. And it resonates more to an academic context, and when my good friend is here, it speaks more, and I see another one right here. You see, there is basic research and there's applied research. And not all innovations come out of research, and not all research outputs can be commercialized, but there is some that can be, all right? Now, the challenge in some cases is having an intention and a deliberate plan to commercialize what is commercializable. Because sometimes there's a risk in an academic setting where once you have published a paper or a research output, then you're like, I'll get promotion and that's good enough. So why should I stress? If the incentives are not in place, if the policy environment is also not in place, if the support system is also not in place, then we lose a huge opportunity of research outputs that could have become solutions of public good. I am a victim when I was a student. I never thought that I could commercialize. Many years later, I came to discover that what I had developed, someone else commercialized it, and it's a big enterprise. You know? And so that's one of the things that Kenya is trying to do quite aggressively by engaging academic institutions and research centers to think more about the pipeline. To me, that's a pipeline question, that some of those issues, once they're sorted at that early level, it becomes easier, you know, to make enterprises and joint ventures and licensed solutions and so on and so forth. So let's say that probably about 30% or so of institutions, higher level institutions, are very proactive in strengthening their policy environment and building the capacity for that matter and providing the various support systems that enable people to commercialize. But there is another percentage where there is work to be done. Yeah.
No, thank you so much for that. And I like that word pipeline, because I'm sure most of us have gone through university, if 80%. So I think I'll slowly back to Collins. How are you creating that culture of entrepreneurship even within the university? And then how are you actually working with innovation hubs to begin, you know, solidifying those ideas, creating them from ideation stage, taking them to prototype, taking them to market, and even helping them to grow? And I think you've touched a bit on it earlier, but maybe perhaps you can go a bit deeper on that.
Thank you very much. I think one of the things probably we've done very well as a university, introduce the aspects of entrepreneurship, and most graduates go through that as a program. But probably where we need to up our game at the university, and these are changes that I know they are in the pipeline, because right now universities are preparing for the CBC, those who will, you know, do CBC. If you look at, and this is all universities, not just JKUAT, if you look at the different courses that students do, probably is doing BCom, is doing public health, I'm doing IT, then you'll find that each of them will do a unit called project, right? So in his project, the curriculum dictates that he does it as an individual, that project, so that there'll be a panel and he presents, there's a document and whatever. We now are moving away from that. We are adopting a multidisciplinary approach where you're doing public health. There's a problem in public health, but you're telling you, look for somebody who is a technology student, somebody who is doing community and so forth, so that you partner together, so that proposal now is solid, a multidisciplinary aspect. And in it now, somebody doing BCom will bring in that business angle, because somebody doing IT will just be technical. He just wants a system. Probably doesn't make sense entrepreneurially. And then those are some of the changes that are really happening in the university, just emphasizing on that multidisciplinary approach in terms of how we do our projects and research. That's one thing. And then number two, again, we are moving away from that old model of having, you know, the way you'll come to the university and you see old professors with beard, and who probably might not be open to new ideas. Right now we are really collaborating more. We are open, we are working, and that's why, as I said, we are working very closely with Swahili Port. We engage, we try to come up with joint programs that we can push together. We work closely with the ICT Department of ICT County Government, and we want programs that indeed, as the Bishop of Partnership has said, which are holistic. We don't want to be building silos, that Boost are doing something, Close the Gap are doing something, JKUAT is doing something. You know, if at the end of the year, when every institution is planning the activities, are we able to sort of look at these activities and see where we can pull in the synergies together, and with the help of the CEO here, having given us the master plan, and have a really holistic aspect in terms of entrepreneurship and innovation. So I believe we're in the right track, and as JKUAT Mombasa campus, we are very open under the leadership of Dr. Frida to work closely with our partners. We just, the other thing I'll tell you, during the ASK show, when we were told that there's a tent for innovators, we took our students, innovators, but we didn't stop there because we know we mentor very young people in the secondary. We said, let's look at those who are good also and incorporate them at the ASK. When the show came and people came to visit the innovators, in fact, I remember that day, almost all our students were taken. You know, that's the day almost all of them get jobs. So as JKUAT, we are proud. Of course, at that time, you can't help it. They've gotten some leads, and then those are some of the things that we are doing. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah. That's a well-deserved applause. I wanted to add something on the role for universities. If you look at what we do at Close the Gap, for instance, coming to Mombasa, for us the universities, with TUM, for instance, with Agnes of TUM, they helped us in discovering the ecosystem and finding our way. So it's a beacon of knowledge, but it's also a reference point. And we also work together with other universities, like for instance in Belgium at the University of Brussels, we support a chair on social entrepreneurship based on our experience, but also with our network. And that's also interesting. And I think that universities could maybe investigate that a bit more. How can they connect to other universities to share knowledge, like cross-border, cross-continent border? How can we learn from each other? It doesn't need to stop in Kenya. It doesn't need to stop in Africa. It doesn't. I think that's really something that entrepreneurial academics can do. And then to come back to another thing that you were saying, what I really appreciate in the fact, if you look at Mombasa, but it's the same everywhere, there's no such thing as the hub that will solve everything or the entrepreneurial program that will solve anything. We need programs like Boost, but we also need other programs. And we need a hub like Close the Gap, but we also need other hubs. And they're all relevant, and they all should reinforce each other. And if you have that kind of ecosystem, then you as an entrepreneur can see what program is best for your specific idea and for where you stand, and then you can grow further. So I think I'm proud to say that we can be part of an ecosystem, but it's the ecosystem that's important, and it's the combination of the different players that's important. And I think also there universities can see what is present in an ecosystem and what is maybe missing, and then see whether you can find somebody to come with that, or within the university or beyond of that.
That's a good one. And from the last challenge we had on the COVID-19 competition when we were visiting different schools, you know, the winners were all private schools. Number 1, number 2, number 3. All private schools. And we were able to capture some of the gaps in the public schools. So you can imagine a school participating in the competition, and the school in itself doesn't have internet. It's a secondary school. They have a school bus, but they don't have internet. So I believe, and we have such data because of the involvement of the mentorship. And I believe that's where probably Close the Gap can come in, because we visited a school, they're participating, they're willing in the innovation, but some basic infrastructure like internet, computers, they're not there. We've gone and we have that data. So I believe the next phase will be now probably to meet with Close the Gap, now that you have some of these aspects. How can we work together and see that these schools, next time when they're participating in these competitions, they're not at a disadvantaged, because definitely they'll not win. Thank you so much.
Maybe just also from the standpoint of Kenya, just components that we can chip in is partnership. It's becoming clear and clear. I mean, you can't operate in isolation. As a university, and universities struggled for some time to be pillars of, knowledge up there. That times they really, really have gone. So part of two things we're doing. One is we're going to be doing an annual report on the contribution of academic institutions to the national innovation system. And we've gotten funding for it from some partners. And this, I almost predict what I'm going to try and produce, all right? There are some institutions that are doing well, and part of your greater contribution to the national innovation system is how well did you partner with some innovation hub somewhere? How did you get involved with some county government? How did you identify some challenges? How did you support some students and they connected to the rest of the world? Do you have an incubation hub in your system? How is your IP policy in, do you have some technology transfer mechanisms and so forth? And that is going to put a little pressure on those who are not necessarily doing it, so that then we see how on an annual basis we continue to improve, and we will give recommendations, specific recommendations of what institutions should do in order to start moving up that value chain. The other bit we're going to provide is commercialization guidelines to help institutions to begin to think about how might they specialize in their own area. If you are a Pwani university and there are all these needs that are in the region, the development authorities, you should be connected to the development authority, connect to the master plan of the development authority, so that you identify those challenges and work with the students, build that entrepreneurial mindset for them being part of the solution to those challenges. That builds a national innovation system.
No, I really love the ideas that are coming out from here, because I feel like you're building on each other's point. Because am I the only one who's feeling the same way? No. Yeah, because there's a lot of, like when you talked about having diverse teams, now it goes into the multidisciplinary approach, right? Hire someone in tech, someone else in healthcare, let them, try to figure out the business model and what it looks like. So I think it's very good to see those insights already coming out, and even actual examples of what's happening on the ground. The other thing is that there seems to be a lot of knowledge and resources to entrepreneurs, right? So there's a lot of research that Kenya has done, JQuat, even the innovation hubs that have done in terms of case studies of best practices when building a business. Are you accessing them? And they are very much available even on their website and portal. The other thing that I really feel is, and that's why I even stood up, is the aspect of partnership. You see, ASEC was actually born to bring together all innovation hubs, right? Because all of us are supporting entrepreneurs, are very passionate. So you have Close the Gap and you have YGAP. They're all supporting entrepreneurs get access to training, coaching, mentorship, and even fundraising. Now imagine if we organize the ecosystem, bring all innovation hubs in one association to be able now to champion the rights and interests of the entrepreneurs, which is actually most of you, or even now linking with academia to now begin developing the culture of entrepreneurship right from the onset. When you join, the first class, can you start thinking entrepreneurially instead of thinking, oh, I have to copy paste the answers and then pass the exam? So I think there's a lot of good learnings here, and I hope also you're taking note of that. The other thing that I just want to also touch on is on the fourth industrial revolution. So here we are, with the COVID-19 pandemic, we had to accelerate very, very quickly. And just for the purposes of the audience, what does the fourth industrialization mean? What does it look like? What are the opportunities that the entrepreneurs can actually tap into and actually use to help them grow their businesses? So I think I can start with Carol.
Yeah, and before I get onto that, what you were talking about ASEC, I was thinking, wait a second, we still have the ASEC thing that, and the reason why it came about was because we were all complaining and we were all saying the government is not supporting ecosystem players. We are doing the hard work and the government is not doing anything about it. And then the government says, yeah, but we can't work with one person at a time. You need to figure out how to do partnerships. And that is how that came about. And the fact that now we are seeing that we cannot work in silos anymore. And we've also noticed that it's very nice to sit in Nairobi in a cozy place and wait for entrepreneurs to come to you. But then again, the entrepreneurs who really need support, they are uko mashinani. In Mombasa, in Kisumu, in Bungoma, those places. So we can't all be congregating at Nairobi saying that that's where we are going to be supporting entrepreneurs from. And they can't all be at the same level. So you have to stagger it, and you also have to look at the partnerships. And now you're talking about the fourth revolution. We had the first, second, and third. And the fourth is about digital. It's everything becoming digital. You're thinking about, and we've seen it. Who would have thought that you could have an entire class of first graders learning online? My God, do you know what first graders are? And their focus and the amount of focusing time they have. I think Masomo Poto should be telling us how they are doing that. And we did it, and now we know it is possible. anything else that we are doing, any business, and this is what we are realizing, for the last couple of intakes, the businesses that are thriving are the ones that have that digital element to it. And that is, and then for you to actually get to that point, you have to be thinking ahead. Right now, digital is everything, right? And if you can't think, I mean, there was a very beautiful innovation by Kodak. Why did Kodak have to die? That was completely innovative. What was lacking? And this is the thing. These are the things that we need to think about. Yes, we are since the mid whatever, we've actually just been gravitating towards that the fourth revolution. And our thing is, if you cannot figure out right now even rubbish, if you're running a company that is garbage collection, there has to be an IT element to it. Otherwise, you're stuck at where you are. If you want to be operating in Nairobi, you need someone to say, I need my garbage collected. And it hasn't been more evident how internet and digitalization of your business is important than in the last couple of years. So I think for me, that's the most important thing. And we are seeing that even with all the startups that are coming up.
Thanks. That's actually inspirational. We talked about the question before, and you mentioned the fourth industrial revolution, and I actually had to look it up. You know, what was revolution number 1 and 2 and 3? I had to go into my history lessons, and then the first was water and steam power, and then the second one was going to mass production, and the third one is automation and IT, and then the fourth one, it's completely different, because the first 3, it's like a step, and you go from normal step up to the new normal. And now for me, the fourth revolution is the biggest and also the last revolution, because now actually we stop thinking of what is possible and what we can do, because everything's possible. You have AI, you can 3D print. If you can think of it, you can build it. So anything is possible. It's, for me, the fourth revolution is just a revolution with the end of limited opportunities and just the start of limitless possibilities. But again, what do you want to do? Where's the impact? How will it be impactful for people? How can you build it? Will people buy it? And so I think it's really that start of like exponential growth, hopefully good exponential growth, circular growth. But for me, that's what the fourth industrial revolution is about. And then with that in mind, combined with positive energy, combined with optimistic thoughts, I'm sure we can do a lot of things, and hopefully the fourth revolution will be the thing that really leaps us forward. And the thing that is often said about Africa, Africa is leapfrogging forward. Yeah. This is it. This is really it.
I'll come last.
Okay, thank you. So I'll just add on what my fellow panelists have said. I think the main thing will be now customer-centeredness, and I'll give you some few scenarios, a snip view of the future. And as much as we are talking about this, the future that is coming, very near, think of an internet-enabled lens, eye lens. You know, the lenses that we put in the eye, which is internet-enabled, so that the way we are seated here, when you blink, with blinking, you can just see the whole bio of Dr. Tony. Because, I mean, the lens is already in your eye. And the next blink, you can see his Facebook page right here, the way we are seated. So when you are sick, again, you blink, and you're able to see a RoboDoc and engage, you know, based on what you are feeling, and then get advice in terms of treatment. That's the near, very, very near future. Think of a watch, of course, with artificial intelligence, IoT, a watch that you can engage a robo-lawyer. Talk to your watch. Whichever part of the country you've gone, you don't have to understand their law. The robo-lawyer would have all the languages. I mean, you're in Rwanda, and I mean, you're in a legal issue and you don't understand Rwandese law. And the robo-lawyer will quickly give you some tips. Those are some of the aspects. Customer-centeredness. Now, how can we reach there? Or how can this be done? As my fellow panel has said, digitization. Think of, let me now talk about opportunities. Think of any sector with middlemen. Any sector with middlemen. And that sector with middlemen, definitely the price is always high. There's a bit of inefficiency because of the middlemen, a bit of cut and so forth. So the opportunity for us as innovators, when you can come up with a system that can take care so that you don't have the middlemen there, then you'll be solving a problem because you'll have brought efficiency. And there'll be some value. Because if you imagine as a customer, that's why I'm talking about customer-centeredness. A customer who knows, with this solution, I don't have to, deal with middlemen. Then, you're home and dry. So that's where we are going. And probably last, I know from academia, I can talk the whole day, BrainNet. BrainNet, now we are talking of internet. There's something called BrainNet, which is coming. And seated here with a good professor, and probably I admire his brains, and I would like to upgrade my brains. Then it will be possible for my brains to be upgraded and probably downgrade or, a bit. So that's possible. Already it's being done. So BrainNet, those are some of the aspects. So as part of the innovators, you ask yourself, as all this is coming, what part will you play? What part will you play? And I'll continue to emphasize this. Think of any sector with middlemen. That's a solution. There's a solution that you can bring on board. Because I can tell you, with customer-centeredness, no one wants to deal with middlemen. And I'm sure I'm not alone. Thank you very much.
Probably 2 points I would make, then that way there's no repetition, is innovation is not tech. I hope we agree. All right? But we recognize that tech can facilitate innovation. So if you don't know too much tech like IoT, don't panic, all right? You're fine. But then you need to start exploring and trying to read and consult and learn about these different kind of technologies that are emerging, and ask yourself, how might they help my business to be more effective and efficient? Just ask yourself that question. And, talk to the tech people, and that's why you need them in your team. How might technology help? Because every single thing that I think I saw as I walked over there, and, I could see you could digitize some of it. Second, think that your market is global. Traditionally, you would put your things in a shop and people come to the shop, all right? But now you are in a scenario where there are people who can seek your services from anywhere, right? How might you use technology to enable that happen? I think it's a question you keep asking yourself. You don't have to have an answer today, nor tomorrow, but embedded as in your bloodstream. You may be a senior person in society, like you're 60 years and you're like, me, I'm not .com anymore, I'm not a tech person. But if you want to survive the business of tomorrow and skill, then technology is going to be part and parcel of it. So it's a tool. Don't equate it. It is not going to substitute the business, so that you don't get obsessed with the technology and say, I've got this IoT, I've got this. That's not the business. The business is what you're doing, but the technology is going to enable you to do that. Now, some technology may be very advanced, and you don't have to kill yourself trying to learn every single technology on earth. But there are those simple ones that will help you. Now, management of data. I think, again, traditionally, we're not very strong in terms of the way you keep your records very well and digitize, and make sure you update your things very well. Sometimes we don't do it because you sometimes feel like, okay, that's not the business. That's not my core business, But I think as time has gone by, it's becoming more and more clear that management of the data is like gold to your business.
There's actually an interesting thought that I had. Well, I hope it's interesting for you as well. I thought it was interesting. Listening to you guys and making the link to the fourth revolution. In the past, we saw that people thought as individuals. They build a business where they can make money, where they can build a fortune, where they can take care of their family. And I see now, and I see that in a lot of innovations here, it's more about sharing and about creating win-win solutions. It's about, I'm thinking of a friend of mine who has an Uber, and actually it's an Uber that's bought together with another person, and then they share the car. It's a win-win. alone they count. It's linked to what Eva said. I'm also a big fan of partnerships. If you do it together, you can go further. And technology can be an enabler because you can track the drives that are done with this car that is shared. But it's an enabler, nothing more. It's not a fetish, it's just an enabler. And I think that this win-win mentality can really bring us further. And if you think about how you can help others, you also help yourself. And that's really, I think, something that is in all of our minds as an idea, and that's really making a lot of things possible today already and tomorrow even more.
No, I really love what all of you have said. And I think one key thing that's coming out is the value chain, right? So for example, if you're in education, you're looking at how do you educate children, how does that value chain look like? You know, who are the people actually giving the input? Let me use a simple example of maybe perhaps plastic, right? Who is the one consuming the bottle, or who's the one producing, who's the one consuming, who's the one recycling, who is the one reusing it or bringing it back into the loop? How can your business actually find a way of optimizing or using technology to optimize your operations? I think that's a very cool, very good insight that's coming out. And just on that same point, looking at how using technology can actually help, even maybe not technology in itself, but what does innovation look like in Africa that can actually help Kenya even put, you know, like Dr. you talked about, sorry, let me go back to the point. You had mentioned about the upcoming Kenya Innovation Week that's coming up this year. And the theme was taking Kenya to the world and the world to Kenya. So how does that look like in terms of innovation? How can each of us as a stakeholder, even the entrepreneurs in the room, how can they ensure they actually showcase their innovations to the world?
I think, and this is a discussion that we are having, innovation is not about tech. Innovation is what are you doing that is different. We had the thing of, and someone saying that M-Pesa is being studied everywhere. M-Pesa came in and it's nearly, it has disrupted the banking industry. It's like it's replacing even banks. So it is more of showing that you're doing what you're doing, but you just need to figure out how are you different? How are you taking this thing that has been working for days, for years, and making it different? It's the thing, it's like the example that is usually given of someone was trying to replace cushions in an airplane, but then there had to be something different that was being done. It can't just be a cushion, and that's how the memory foam came about. So it's the same thing, but then there's some angle to it. So not thinking about, like you were saying, don't think as tech is the innovation. Tech is a tool. So the innovation becomes the idea of what are you doing that is different that the next person is doing. We can have two mama mbogas over here. They are both in business, but then there's one who is doing something different. There was one who's decided, I am going to be slicing spinach for someone. That is something that they have decided, that's what is going to be different for me. It's not out there, but it is something that is making them stand out. So it's more of showing entrepreneurs that you're not necessarily looking to change everything or change so drastically that you don't even know where you're headed, but it is that the small steps that we are taking to ensure that you're doing things differently. I think that's what innovation would look like.
Thanks. And I'm actually looking forward to the Kenya Innovation Week, but we don't have to wait for the Kenya Innovation Week. If you look at social platforms, you can start pitching today. You can just go outside, take your phone, make a movie, explain your story, put it online, and boom, you're off. And all the information is there. If you're looking for a solution to replace airplane cushions, go online. You will find 10 people already doing it. So go out there and don't wait for the events. Kenya is already in the world, and I think very relevant in the world. So just go out there, be proud of your story. A lot of things can be found online and just jump on there. The global marketplace is there. It's very often said, but it's not a hollow phrase. And I'm really looking forward to hearing the other stories that are as inspirational as M-Pesa. Because it's very often cited, but for me it's just one of the innovations next to many others. But just let's make sure, all of us together, that the other ones also get known.
Let me start with the Kenya Innovation Week. It is not an event. It is not an event. it is a movement. It's a mindset. We only climax it by gathering together. But the work happens the entire year. Are we together? So we are in the Kenya Innovation Week as we are now. You know, in the Bible, I was reading something about the kingdom of God. I've been wondering about this kingdom of God until I discovered it is here now. You know, like we are there, you know. So we look at it as a movement. It's only that we climax and celebrate the effort. So we energize ourselves all through. But I have a couple of points to add. This is my simple definition of innovation. Change that adds value. Change that adds value. Meaning, something could have been the way it is now, and then in the course of time, I make it look a bit different, cheaper, faster, more efficient, more appealing, whatever that may be, and I'll have added value in the course of that time. So change that adds value is my simplest definition. So ask yourself, in the efforts that you have, or in the initiatives that you have, are you surely adding value from what it may have been to what it is, from a cost perspective, speed, appeal, look, whatever it is. Always measure how much value are you adding. The second point I will mention, because then that becomes timeless. It doesn't matter whether it's next year or next year but one. As long as you're always adding value, then it makes sense. But the second bit I always like to add to that is fall in love with the problem, not the solution. Fall in love with the problem, not the solution. Because it's very easy to get excited about being able to create a cheap drone. That's the solution I have. But what's the problem? And how deeply you understand the problem increases the likelihood of you scaling and being sustainable. Fall in love with the problem, not the solution. And the skills we need in order to fall in love with the problem include anthropology. You know, I visited your bags, all right? Did you see how I responded? Did you think about why I responded the way I responded? I may have not said anything. I have a friend of mine who has made biscuits out of cockroaches, all right? And he goes like, these are nice biscuits. It's like, look, I've got this, I've created out of cockroach. There's nothing wrong with that. But how did I respond? And every lady I have taken to that setup goes like, so the science is good, all right? The logic is good, but there's something has missed somewhere in the packaging in order for us to translate to there. So she seemed to have fallen in love with the solution. But the problem here, again, I come back to your user-centeredness. It is not a tick. We're not scoring. We're not trying to give 60%. Oh, that's a good idea. No, the marking scheme is whether I buy. That's the marking scheme. And not only do I buy today, but I also come back tomorrow after I've finished eating that biscuit. That's the marking scheme. So you can display all you want to display and explain to me all the science behind it, and amazing. But user-centered. And that's why I think having the multidisciplinary teams is so valuable, because then you have probably somebody who becomes very strong in looking at the behavior of people. When I look at this gentleman and how he has reacted to what I have, I capture data. This is how this person has behaved. That person has behaved that way. That person has behaved. There's something common I'm getting out of this. How can I change the behavior of that person based on what I have? And I've found that to be a very, very valuable thing to do as you run an enterprise. The consumer and immersing yourself into the consumer based on the problem. Because if you crack that, then internationalization becomes easy. Because people are people. Yeah, there will be differences in Belgium a little bit, but you all get hungry, don't you? Absolutely. So we all get hungry. So you will eat food, right? So people are people. The anthropological aspects of people, they are people. Fall in love with the problem, not the solution.
Wow. Thank you so much.
I didn't mean to say the bags are bad. No, not at all.
Thank you for that.
I'm going to buy one.
So I think on the Africa issue, there's the AU aspect of the Africa we want, I think 2063, and there's some flagship projects that they're doing. And one of the aspects of the AU, the Africa we want, is ICT revolution. ICT revolution. And of course, Kenya, we are part of that. So, of course, I'm seeing the CEO of ServSkills, and is one of our alumni at JKUAT. He's one of those guys who applied for a Tony Elumelu program in Nigeria because of these platforms which exist, and he was able to go there and come back, and we are very proud. So there's so much happening. The only aspect now is, of course, the infrastructure. Looking at the innovation, I can mimic it, of course, just in addition to the pillars that have been pointed out. I can mimic it to a house being built. A house being built, we have the foundation, we have the building materials, we have the builder, and of course the supervisor. So in terms of innovation, of course, the foundation and the building materials will be the infrastructure. The foundation and the building materials. Of course, we have the internet infrastructure, the different tools, the softwares that are needed, and so forth. And then, in terms of the builders, we have now the teams, the partners we are talking about, who are actively working on that innovation. And then, of course, when you talk of the supervisor, now these are what we call the innovation champions. And the innovation champions, the supervisors, these are the people who offer leadership in terms of that aspect of innovation. Seeing where this idea, having the optimism that is talked about, seeing where this idea can go, not just today, and so forth. So the way now you'll have, you look at a house incomplete, and of course there's the customer who wants that house. And that's why I talked about the customer centeredness. So Africa, I know something is being done, but sometimes we lose focus as a general. Then there's one thing I keep on seeing repeatedly in terms of resources, the way we are using our resources. I'll give you an example. I go to one school, and that school, they tell me we are a STEM school. STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, mathematics. So they'll tell us we are a STEM school, and the government gave us robotics kits, IoT kits, and so forth. I'm like, oh, that's beautiful. So they have a robotics class and so forth. Then I walk a bit to the nearest school. They don't have that. I mean, they don't have anything innovation and so forth, nothing going on. I'm like, okay, are you aware your neighbor school has these resources? No, they have. Like, yes. And of course, they're not using, like, utilization, they're not using throughout. And both are public schools. You know, the way you'll have one school having a bus, another one doesn't have a bus, and you're thinking, we can share resources. Both are public schools. So resource provisioning, resources, some resources are lying idle. They're not being utilized. And that's one thing that we really need. We have resources, but the utilization of those resources. Some are just, and I like what you were saying about recycling, and those are some of the aspects that Africa we really need to keenly look at. With what we have, how can we utilize these resources maximally? So I think it's something I can see the CEO wants to respond to that. I'll allow him.
Oh, I'm not sure whether I'm going to respond to it, but yes, definitely sharing. But I have a poll, a simple poll to do. How many of us in our own enterprises have a cool website? And I said cool website. All right? So that's about 3%, 4%, going up, 5%, thereabout. All right. How many of us have social media accounts? Twitter. Yeah, what happened? Okay. So I think I was pointing to something, that if we want to internationalize, then web presence is without a doubt, and it has to be cool. Please don't have one if it's not going to be cool, because then we are going to have a problem. People will form an opinion very quickly, and then, and again, you're dealing with customers, users, and so forth. And then social media. My personal experience, by the way, I've realized that resource mobilization is a function of communication. I actually lately don't write proposals. No. Actually, even people write proposals for me. I mean, like they say, please, we would like to work with you. All right? Based on your social media or I don't know what, not. Yeah. So the way you package yourself seems to determine a lot the reaction you get from consumers, partners, funders, and so on and so forth. Again, this is where multidisciplinary comes in. I might not be very good at packaging. Like you can tell me, I don't know how to dress. All right? But I can get someone who can help me to package. All right? So I hope we are planning to invest, because I saw 5%. We're planning to invest, because otherwise we won't take it to the world. All right? We will only deal with Pwani. You understand? Okay. I'll answer your question tomorrow.
No, I think I really love that. There's just a couple of insights that I've just summarized, and let me just quickly run through them. Innovation, again, is not technology. It is an enabler, right? Technology is an enabler, not an innovation. The multidisciplinary approach is still coming up again. How are you thinking differently, and how are you actually adding value in a different way? That goes again into your competitive advantage. The other thing is plug into entrepreneurship programs. Why? One, they actually help you challenge your business model and even the problem that you're solving. Perhaps you're trying to recycle plastic for, let me see, I think I know one area, Mkongeni, eh? Yeah, you're trying to solve a specific plastic challenge there, but is that really the main problem? You know, maybe there's no alternative packaging that they can actually use. Maybe perhaps you need to shift your problem that you're solving. The other thing is the user-centered stroke, the customer-centric approach. Is the customer really at the heart of your business? And that's going back to what Dr. has talked about, the website. Is your website geared towards the customer, or it's you pushing out all the information to the customer? Like I saw a meme this morning about websites, that in the website, when you go to a website, you first of all get a drop-down, subscribe to our newsletter. And then after they subscribe to the newsletter, you get cookies. Please allow us to kindly enable cookies. Okay, you say accept all cookies, all right. Then now you're being told, I don't know, there's so many links that you have to go through until you forget, why did I even come to this website? What am I looking for in this website? So you go back to maybe their social media page. So everything that you do to interact with your customer, and even the funder, is it very clear? Have you put them at the heart of your communication strategy, right? The other one is looking at flagship projects, like the one for the AU. Which community are you part of? I'm so sure, like for the AU, there are communities that they have for entrepreneurs across Africa. On Facebook, there's so many groups for entrepreneurs. Where are you? Where can they find you? I mean, so many groups for entrepreneurs where they post opportunities about EU, the European Union, UK Tech Hub, even for Kenya. So where are you? Which community are you part of? And I think being part of an innovation program, like for Close the Gap or even Y Gap, I don't know why you have both gaps, but it should tell us something. You know, being part of an association like the one for ANSEC is so crucial because you get access to all these opportunities. So that's just a quick summary of the discussions that we've been having. And I'd just like now to open the floor for any question and answer from the panel. Yeah, sorry, from the audience.
So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Roland. I work for an organization called Gearbox Europlacer. And it's interesting to be part of this discussion. Thank you for the panelists. When I saw the program and looked at the topic, combining innovation and entrepreneurship, it's interesting because I like looking at innovation in a certain lens. Innovation to me is when you have an idea, you create a design, prototype, okay, and you test your concept, okay? That's an innovation. An example is, for example, one I saw with a lady yesterday who had a product that is doing carbon dioxide emissions monitoring. In its own rudimentary way, it's doing the function it needs to do. Okay, breadboard-based connections wire here and there. It has a database and it provides a solution. So that's an innovation. Entrepreneurship is what you do with it after. And Dr. Onwansa has talked about how the customers look at it. Okay, how you commercialize, because the product you had yesterday, can you sell it? It's doing its job, yes, but can you sell it? You need to be able to move it to a different level. You need to be able to polish it up. You need to make it look nice. You need to make it to be able to collect this data much more efficiently. You need to have a system where clients can access this data easily. That's now entrepreneurship, because it's both about polishing the product and also how you take it to the market, and including all these other items that you talked about, the business skills, how are you going to put the messaging, the numbers, who are you going to target it to, okay, who is your client? That's all entrepreneurship. Why I'm saying that is, in my position at Gearbox, I have had a chance to interact with a lot of young innovators, because at Gearbox, we really are an enabler, okay? We are a hardware enabler where we provide the resources for young entrepreneurs, developers to be able to build products. If you want to build a software-based product, all you need is a computer and have information about how to code. But what happens if you want to build a hardware-based product? And you need to have the equipment, okay? You need to be able to have access to them, and you do not have funding, you might not be able to buy this equipment. That's what you do at Gearbox. But now, most of them will build this product, bring it to that level of innovation, and it dies there. There's a whole lot of products and ideas that exist in this country and the region where young people have developed this product, what I'll call an innovation, and it ends there. Why? If you had so much passion in what you are building, why did you leave it at that point? Why did you not look for partners who can be able to help you move it to the next level, to be able to commercialize it? Okay. Did you get a chance to get through a mentorship program like that to be able to analyze the business aspect of it? Is it viable or not? Okay. So this to me is a challenge to all young innovators. Please, do not just build a product because everyone is building a product. Build a product with an aim to commercialize it, because it will be a waste of your time to be able to invest all that time just to get to a point where you leave it. Okay. Secondly is just a comment on fourth industrial revolution. It's still a big term for most of us, but I will simplify it for you. Fourth industrial revolution is really the first revolution for us in Africa. All these three other revolutions, like my colleague has mentioned about, they were about industrialization, mechanization, all these kind of things that really had little or no effect for us in Africa. This is the first time we have an opportunity to actually use this opportunity, to now work with this one, to now control the world. Because we have a chance to do things that don't exist the rest of Africa, the rest of the world, right here in Africa, and take them to the world. And M-Pesa is one of those that they talked about. There's a whole lot of hardware items. We mentioned about IoT. Yes, IoT can be another tech term, but really it is not. It is all about what is this you are doing at your small level, and you can be able to connect to the internet and make it work for you. That's the simplest way I like describing IoT. Okay, it could be farming. How can I automate this and make it be available for me to remotely manage it? The benefits of remotely managing it means I can do multiple of them. Instead of being at one place, I can be in one place and then manage 5 of them than being physical in one area. So you can participate in IoT innovations whether you are tech or not. All you need, again, is partnerships. As long as you have the right partner who can work with you and help you build your idea into a product that you can commercialize. Thank you very much.
Can I maybe quickly step in? And first of all, thank you for the comment and also for the great work that you do. I've been visiting Gearbox, and it's a great place. I'm actually going to switch to Dutch now and teach you a word. In Dutch, we call that een maak-leerplek. And it's actually, if you translate it to English, it's a build and learn place. And that's what it is. You build something to commercialize it, but even if you don't commercialize it, you still learn from it. So I think it's great that it exists, and it's a very inspirational place. And it's something you can use to learn. We just need to make sure that it's accessible, that it's available for people, that people find their way. And university people should find their way, but also children of 5 and 6 year olds should be able to start building. And then another comment that I wanted to make, I really want to congratulate you on very exact pinpointing on what the fourth revolution is, because you're totally right. It is, according to me as well, Africa's evolution, because you have a growing population, you have opportunities, and you do not have the issues that other parts of the world have with too much legislation and too much barriers. So it is indeed about those possibilities. So let me congratulate you with a very excellent definition, and if it's okay for you, I will reuse it because it's actually much better than what I used today.
That's great. Collaboration already is happening, and we're learning from each other. So anyone else with a question? Yeah.
I hope I'm allowed to say it. Good afternoon, everyone. Just to comment on that, what he was saying about how young people, sometimes you have the innovation or you have a business idea, but you do not know. All you have is that brilliant idea and you don't know where to start and who can help you carry through with it. And I would like to challenge our panelists today, especially the ones that deal with hubs and startups. I expected more of young people to be here today. So I don't know how you do your marketing for events such as this. There are many, the way you're saying, all over the country, and even here in Mombasa, in interior places, when someone really wants to build their business and know more, they do not know where to start or where to go. Most of the people here are even people who have already been incubated in the hub. So it's like they have had this over and over and over. Okay, it's good to, of course, there's something new we learn every day, but I would love to challenge you on that, like how we can include other youth, and even us as who were in here, how we can share it with other young people so that they are able to know of these opportunities. Because all they know is that I have a brilliant idea, probably didn't even do business, you have no financial literacy, you literally just have an idea and you run about with it, excited about it, but no way of how to develop it. Now, on my question, my name is Gabriela and I work with Gilitix Media closely, and I'm also passionate about business, especially agribusiness. Okay, my question is, okay, it's not a question, wait. About higher institutions of learning and how it's also like just challenging the panelists again, because we talk about higher institutions having research center. I do not want to criticize where I studied. I did horticulture, but we honestly did not have any research center. We hardly did lab work. And being an agripreneur or agriculture student, you can only imagine coming to start to see things for the first time after graduating. So it's also a challenge how universities and how that you're saying about partnerships, how we can challenge the government to invest more in higher education centers, especially even from high school, because you can see even in our country, we no longer have agriculture students in primary schools. In high school, I did not do agriculture in high school. I did not grow up in the farm. So it was quite a challenge coming into an industry where you do not have much of the practical, and I'm not trying to blame anyone, but there's more we can do in that. And then you talked about partnerships, and I was wondering how, could you please maybe speak more about it? How do we partner? I am passionate about agribusiness, for example. How do I go about, but like, I like to break down things for better understanding. Like, let's break it down. If you talk about partnerships, it could also be like an ambiguous word. I'm going to partner with who? Where do I start? How do I go about it, you know? I would appreciate that. And then you spoke about old lecturers. Personally, I loved old lecturers in school because the young ones come and they read what's on the lecture sheet. So I was like, I may prefer the, okay, of course, there are others that are too old, of course, but yes, just to point it out. And then my last one, we have us young people who are really interested in developing these ideas we have and the brilliant things we are doing, the innovations and all. Would you encourage us to proceed with that line? Or like now you get, okay, earlier on I would apply for jobs. This year I decided, let me try and pursue, this is something that I really want to do, yeah? Would you encourage someone to continue to pursue this, or to also remember their professions? Because you get your parents to be like, okay, I see you running around, you have innovations, you are the hub. what time will you get employed? Or when are you starting to earn from this? Because I don't know if people here are already earning from the innovations, but sometimes it's a struggle to earn, and even if you earn, it's not maybe enough to sustain you and grow you. And our peers who are employed are really doing big. They have insurances for health and what and what. So at what point do you say, okay, fine, I will forsake this, but maybe, and you remember it's still a startup, so you also are risking. You don't know at what point it would completely make it or it won't, you know? So also maybe advice on that. Thank you so much.
I think as you jump in, I hear you. I really do hear you. And I think what we have been seeing, I had a conversation with a young lady who's a university student. So she came to our booth and asked, so what do you people do? So I went on this tirade of how we support startups, how, you know, those big things. Then I asked her, what do you do? And then she said, well, not much, nothing really. And I thought I saw something in her. There's something that she thought she could have said, but because I went all the startup route of supporting and innovation and all those things, I think she became a bit timid to say what she does. So I questioned her and she said, no, what I do is, it's something very small. I think I sell cakes around campus, just like a side hustle thing. And I was like, you are running a business. And that is where now, again, I realize that sometimes, even when we are approaching young people, we are not approaching them from the level of a startup is essentially a business. And the conversation I was having with her is, I cannot tell you what I was doing in campus at your age, and you're here going to school and running a business. That in itself is very big. So I hear you that the way we are communicating, how we can support business, we can't keep using these big words. Again, that thing of going outside, it's something that, and we've been in talks with ASEC for so long, and this is the thing of, but then the government has this thing, the body, the KNCCI, and it actually just gets a hold of businesses and brings them together. So who is actually talking to those businesses? And that's when we realized we don't need to go knocking on doors. Businesses are right there staring at us in the face. Then you talked about partnerships. What does partnership look like? It's a big word. I mean, it's innovation. Because then innovation, and then we all get lost. And it's, when you think about partnership, you coming to a YGAP acceleration program, that's where partnership begins, by the way. You talking to someone who is doing, I'll give you that example again of cakes. Then she realizes that I think I need to find someone who wraps these cakes properly so that then I can sell them, the packaging thing. So that in itself is it's a partnership. And you're talking about, how do I know that it's time for me to leave my business? How do I know that it's time for me to start looking for a job? We were told very, very clearly, fall in love with the what? Not the? So the fact that you are already thinking like that, maybe you didn't actually look at what is that problem. And we say this all the time, your why should make you cry. It's the same concept. You are so passionate about this thing that you do, you're going to wake up. A lot of people, even us, who start businesses, we sometimes sit and think, I think I can work for an NGO and earn a lot of money. And every business person goes through that. The reason why they don't, it's because they looked at the problem, not the solution. They didn't decide, I love building drones, I am going to build drones. It has to have a purpose. So for you to get to a point where you know that this is what I want to do, you need to understand the problem you're trying to solve inside and outside. And that's how all these other things come about. I don't know.
Okay, hi, my name is Rugea. I'm the founder of Rich Organics. So I'd like to answer a few questions and maybe add to them. for stats like when she said, for example, Boost doesn't like announce well and all that. Okay, personally, I didn't know about Boost either. So when I started, I actually went to somebody to ask for a loan. And they're like, I don't have money, but what if I show you a way that will help you? And he introduced me to Boost. So I just applied. At first, he told me that they'll be training you, and after training, you'll do crowdfunding, and then they match up. So basically, in my head, I was just going for the money. So I applied Boost just for the money, honestly. Then when we started, so when the cohort started, the first thing Liz told us is that we don't do match up anymore. We canceled it. And a lot of people quit, like literally, so you can't just blame them. So I came with that in my back of my head. I had that in mind, but I stayed for the program. I wanted to learn because already okay, let me go back. I did the business management in university. I majored in finance. So I was employed before, and I've worked for 10 years. So then I had my baby. My baby was a very sick baby. So like for a whole 2 years, I was always sick. So always in the hospital. My employers got fed up. And practically it was hectic for me. So I didn't really quit. They sacked me. So after that, then COVID came. My husband lost his job. So before all that, I decided to do small businesses, and I ventured into the cosmetic industry. I didn't know much. Then I came to Boost. So when I wanted to start this business, as you said, like my colleagues are working, they're earning, why should I? As they said, first look at the problem. So Boost taught me a lot. I learned a lot from Liz. She taught us, like we did research before launching and everything. And for me, I don't just sell cosmetics. I went out, and especially in Coast Province, we use salty water, and we face a lot of problem with our hair. Like in Africa, mostly we braid our hair, and that leads to a lot of, like, you will lose your hair and the hair becomes damaged. So I was going to that. And then we have young men who like form kiharas at a very young age. So I was really into that. So I don't just sell cosmetics. I try to treat the problems. So when I wanted to start, my dad was the first one to be like, I took you to university and you have a degree, and why do you want to do this? Plus, what's different? There are so many cosmetic companies, like so many people are doing this, especially right now, organic is the in thing. Like literally everybody is making organic cosmetics. But back in my mind, I had it that this is what I love, and because my companies fired me just like that, after working for them for 10 years, they didn't think about anything. They didn't even pay me for my service. So I figured, like, why should I be employed? At the end of the day, if they're tired of you, they'll just fire you. I'd rather do my own thing. Even if I'll earn a shilling, it's mine. Even if it doesn't grow, it's mine. At least I tried, yeah? I always tell myself, like, failing is when you didn't try. Don't think that I'm going into this, what if it doesn't work? Always have a positive mind. And before you jump into starting it, do a lot of research. I think you should see Liz. She's good at that. She made us go to houses, like literally knock into people's houses, knock into offices, question people. You don't just create your product, like get the customer's view. So I had to interview 100 people before Liz allowed me to go to the next step. So yeah, and when you talked about what if you fail, don't start, your first aim shouldn't be about making money, because give yourself at least 10 years for the business to be where you want it to be. Personally, I would say it did grow. I officially launched in November last year. When I came to Boost, I just had one product in mind. Then after the program, I did the crowdfunding myself. I didn't get the match up, so I just had a bit. I launched with 4 products. So we launched in November, and right now I have a range of 15 products. So I believe that's a good growth. So don't wait for somebody to come to you to ask you. Research, ask people, go on the net. Even the person who helped me didn't give me like, boost your business. He told me, Google this, and you'll find so many, just apply. I applied like almost 100 before Boost called me. So don't wait for them to come to you.
Can I actually ask a question back? Because you made an interesting statement. You said that it's a bit strange that not everybody knows that this is taking place. How should we communicate to make sure that people know this? How can we make sure that other people, young and less young people, know that this is happening and come over if they want to? I won't to learn from all of you how we can make this better, more known. How can we make sure that this is feeling like something that is embedded? How can we make sure that this hub and the Boost program, but also the hub in general, that it's really felt like a Mombasa place? Because that's what we aim for. So that's a question right back at you. And then the second thing that I wanted to add, the world is open and waiting for you. Don't be afraid to ask. Just be ready not to have an answer directly. If you want to reach out to people, all the media are there, the social media are there. If you have a question, just ask, just reach out to people. And if you see that they answer, ask how they experienced the question. How can you improve the question? How can you improve the packaging? Learn from that. Be in your network. It will come to you. As she said, it will come to you. And then maybe another thing that I wanted to add, actually based on your comment, on the matched funding, it's an interesting thing that I want to pick up on. In my experience, running several cohorts together with partners, and not only here, but also in other countries and also in Europe, you have entrepreneurs stepping into a program, and you have grantpreneurs, people looking just for the grants, take the money and run. We can say that. If we're honest, we can say that. And it's all fine. It's all entrepreneurial. It's okay. But I think it's more interesting or more intelligent if we focus to have entrepreneurs in programs like Boost and Swahili Pot and others. Because a lot of energy and money is going into these programs. We need to make sure that we can take that energy into building enterprises. And it's not about the couple of Kenya shillings. It's about building an entrepreneur. And that's so much more valuable. So if you're an entrepreneur and not a grantpreneur, find a place, talk to the people, and you will get there.
Allow me to make one observation. One, only one.
Let me answer something to add on that one, because it's something I want to also
Oh, okay, okay.
I think it's a very good question on job or start my business. And so I wanted just to add on that one that there are two types of entrepreneurship. Who knows what they are? I can hear over here. What is it? Acknowledging, great. There are two types of entrepreneurship. One is entrepreneurship, which is external. You are in the environment, you're understanding the customer problem, and you're developing the solution. The second one is intrapreneurship, where you actually develop solutions within an organization. And I wanted to address that to Dr. Ari because I think in our conversation he mentioned that he was the first employee, in the agency. So just to also speak about that as well. As an opportunity.
Yeah, so just to start from where you said, over time we've learned that, for example, university contribute in two ways. You are either becoming an entrepreneur or you, in terms of the extra, in terms of the going to sell the stuff, but you can also be more of an innovator who builds things within somewhere. And it brings satisfaction to you that you are actually creating solutions within a certain context. So when students are taken through an entrepreneurship course, it's not assumed that all of them are going to set up a business. It's that you get the skills. Maybe you might set up, you might not. That's okay. The story of me being the first employee in the organization, I'm running a startup as I speak, government agency, a startup. Because I reported and I thought there was a team, only to discover I was the only one. A whole government agency running a national mandate. I am the only one. Now, where do I start from? All right? And I got into the same questions like yourself. Now, you're telling me partnership, so namna. This is my answer. That always at every stage you will be, now 10 years, 100 years if you live, you will have things you can never control and you will have things you have influence over. And the trick, if you want to build confidence in yourself to start doing something, concentrate on your circle of influence. Concentrate on the things that you can actually do. All right? If you worry about the university did not have a lab, that will build the negative effect on you. Like, oh, I'm not ready. I'm not sure I can do it. Yet, that was outside your influence. You had no capacity to create a lab in that institution. But that doesn't mean you can't succeed. All right? There are people I know, and you probably would know, who have gone to a worse institution, but are thriving nevertheless. The answer involves, what is your circle of influence? What is it that you're in control of? You can talk to customers.
That one you don't need to go anywhere. You can identify a need in society. Ask questions. I like the fact that ask questions. If that's within your circle of influence, ask 1,000 questions. Because then you learn in the process. You build confidence based on what you know. Then slowly, as you build on your circle of influence, it becomes bigger. All right? And the things that are outside your influence actually start becoming smaller. You stop worrying about them. In fact, funding, I have become so persuaded over my time, funding is not the problem. There is enough money. The issue is, am I able to package that which I am addressing in a manner that can move somebody's money from their pocket to mine? That's the issue, but funding is not a problem. But as you address your circle of influence, the things that you can do something about, your circle of concern becomes smaller.
Thank you very much. Briefly, just touching on one aspect, I'll not repeat on what has been said. When she was referring about you love the old lecturer, which is okay, there's something special about young people, and he said it. We are open-minded. You know, and that was the advantage I was using. An innovator comes, my student, and I see the innovation very well. I mean, it's something promising. The next thing I do, like there's one of our students, we took that student all the way to Nairobi to meet the Inspector General, the first Inspector General, literally in our car, and we went with that. That student was shocked. That's what the young lecturers will do. You know, they look at it and like, this is promising. They're open-minded, they move with you. So that's what I meant. But some of us at that time when we were at the university, we were dealing with a bit, the older professors who are not very open-minded, because they're good with experience, but sometimes that open-mindedness, and that's one thing I love about the youth and the young people. Yeah, thank you so much.
Hello everyone, my name is Eric. I am an image consultant. I run a company called Pampa Photography. What I want to tell is about, I want to tell you as an experienced entrepreneur, entrepreneurship is a very lonely process and very hard process. People don't understand entrepreneur, and it's a very, very painful journey, to be honest. I've failed, and there's no one who will come to, like an entrepreneur, to tell you, this is what I did and this is it failed. If your business hasn't failed, you haven't even started. I've failed for like 2 years. I have people here, they can even tell you, Robert is here, Breton is here, and I really wake up again. What I want to emphasize is like entrepreneurship, there's so many hidden information, very hidden information, and to find those information is really, really, really hard. And my question to the panelists, how are you coming up to bring this information outside here to the very people mashinani to get this information? Because entrepreneurship is a very hard process. Trust me, you can give up. And people even in our society, they don't even understand entrepreneurship. They demoralize you. In fact, achana na hii kazi bana, wewe katafute kazi. You see? So that is even demoralizing you to do what you love and what you are doing in a passion. So sometimes I think that some people even bring people who have been in entrepreneurship. You know, some people come to advise you and they're not even in entrepreneurship. Even they don't understand entrepreneurship. In fact, you're employed, even you haven't even started, you don't have even a startup, and somebody is advising you, as in he's telling you something that you have passed through, and maybe you have tried, it's failed, and it's ceasing. So please bring us even entrepreneurship to tell even young people, when you start, that is fail. When you fail, please keep on going, keep on going. So what I want to emphasize, and also to the people who are in entrepreneurship, is about, like one panelist is about packaging yourself, is about you communicating with your client what you are selling. In your social media, it has a lot of opportunity, but social media, everyone is always busy. When somebody gets even in Facebook, in Twitter, in IG, somebody is just passing. What are you putting there? Someone to understand that I'm selling this, or attractive, can attract and pause and see your profile and get to understand you more. So make sure what you're uploading or what you're putting outside there is communicating you and your audience. Now, who is your audience? Come up, and people don't like about talking about income levels. There's a low life levels, there's a middle, and there's high class people. We know how these people behave. So when you know how high class people behave, you start putting those things to attract those people who have high income so that you understand your business. Thank you so much. My name is Eric Pamba, and I'm also a volunteer at Swahili Pot.
Thank you, Eric. Sorry. Okay.
Okay, hello. I think I have a loud
Hey.
voice. Hey, okay, my name is Gilbert Were. I'm the director of Gilitix Media. I don't have really a question, but I want to appreciate some of the panelists here and some of the organizations and hubs which are here. Let me just begin by briefly giving her a history about our company, Gilitix Media. I think Gabriela has asked so much questions, but I remember when I was at the university, at JQuat, which Dr. Collins was one of our deputy director, who is the deputy director there. One day I had an idea that I can market JQuat to social media so that JQuat can get more students to that institution. So I, together with my colleague, who is Johnson Mwangangi, we went to Dr. Collins, and we told Collins, we want to market JQuat. Then he told us, go and make something and come and tell me how you are going to market JQuat to other students. So we went and thought about it. We went and made some funny pages online and went to him. He was impressed and he challenged us. And the good thing about JQuat, they made an entrepreneurship a must-do course in that university. And that's what introduced us and inspired us into entrepreneurship. So during our research, and when we were researching about, okay, we want to start a business, we don't have funding, we don't have machines, how are we going to start our business? We decided to apply. We were all over the social media, and we saw an advert about TechBridge. So we said, okay, we are going to TechBridge, yet we are a media startup, we are not a tech startup. But we went there with the confidence that we are going to market our business, not that we are going there as a tech startup. Luckily enough, Collins was one of the jury there. So Collins was like, okay, these are my students. And guess what? We were the people who won that competition. Because we really understood the business model that what we wanted to do. So from TechBridge, the kind of support that we received, went online, we came and received another support from Boost Your Business. We came and learned about Boost Your Business the same way online. It was a sponsored advert. So we applied for Boost Your Business. We came for the courses. We shared our ideas with Lillian, with Daylene, that we have this brilliant idea. We want to set up a studio. We don't have funding, ABCD. They were like, you guys go for it. We'll push for you. We know like you don't have the capacity at the moment, but we have the networks. You go for it. Luckily enough, we were taken by Close the Gap with the Impact Accelerator program. So last week, like a month ago, Johnson was also, I asked Johnson, who is my co-director, I told him, okay, there's a time I had something about YGAP when we were at Mombasa Works. So see, we go online and look at YGAP kama wako na kitu yote this year. So when we went to YGAP pages, there was an open application. So we applied for the YGAP. Luckily enough, YGAP took us. We went to the YGAP program. So opportunities are there, and today I think it was an opportunity that I wanted to appreciate some of these panelists, some of these organizations which have really supported us. And today we have partnered with Swahili Pot to live stream the event at Mombasa Innovation Week. So I know, as my colleague has said, entrepreneurship is not an easy journey. The fact that we are young people, we are youth, we don't have resources, so some people have high expectation about you. They need you to give the best of you. Sometimes you are competing with the giants in the game, but that competition with the giant, will it make you move forward or will it make you lose? I can see Rocker bags, they produce good bags. But will you compete with the other, utasema like, there are big companies that are producing better bags than us, so mimi ni baki pale pale, or you continue doing your thing. When we were traveling when Johnson was traveling to Rwanda and we were traveling to Uganda, we were having our Rocker bags there. Tukasema, these are startups in Mombasa, we want to market this company there. So, at the same time, when we are talking about entrepreneurship and talking about young people, we should learn of how to support each other, and also you are the people who are in the entrepreneurship space to continue impacting the knowledge to young entrepreneurs. Thank you so much.
That is excellent marketing. Actually, it was very interesting to see what happened here. So you became an ambassador. You actually made him do your sales for JQuad. So that's good. Lesson learned. Make others do your sales. So I will also do that for Close the Gap. Thank you. You learned very well to pitch with the combination probably of what you learned at Twilipot and with the Boost program and all the other programs. So let me congratulate you on that. Very well done, very well said. And for Eric, I want to congratulate you on the courage to speak of failure. But I want to take failure out of the vocabulary that we use. It's not failure, you've learned something. And if there's one thing I think we should do more, is indeed be honest about what's happening. I also know about those lonely nights when you're sitting behind your computer and it's not working and then your battery falls dead and you didn't save the document and you're like screaming to the wall. It happens to all of us. But failure is a learning moment, and if we can have learning moments and share those learning moments, we can all move forward. And as an entrepreneur, it's never like a stair or a direct movement. It's like pure chaos, and then something emerges. So hang in there, and share what you have learned, because it's probably very valuable, and I'm sure that you will build something stronger based on that learning. So thank you for sharing that.
For me, I think I've picked a mindset issue there. A big mindset issue. You can see things as a half full or half empty. It's a choice, right? And no one determines that choice other than yourself. Second is possibilities are there. That one I have never doubted. Possibilities are there. Initiative and the mindset contributes. And then one thing building on another. And then being alert about your environment. Opportunities that might try. It might look difficult initially, but you make an effort. So mindset so crucial. Now, on the issue of how do we get this more and more to Mashinani and as many people as possible, 10, 15 years ago, there was only one innovation hub around in the country. Now, you're talking about over 200, all right? There was no innovation week 10 years ago. That was probably one we started off in 2016 in Nairobi called Nairobi Innovation Week. Now even Kampala has one, Dar es Salaam has one, and in the counties, there are several in the country, which then create a reason, I'm here because of this Innovation Week. Otherwise I would have been in Nairobi. Now what is happening is that this thing is diffusing lower and lower. It's getting into the, so it's a process. It's something that has to take a bit of time. And institutions, of course, we're putting a little bit of pressure in universities. I'm going to give a keynote speech tomorrow at TUM, and you guess what I'm going to say. We're putting a little pressure, and it's kind of penetrating. It's a function of time. I think more and more entrepreneurs are going to emerge, and they'll get supported. Programs like this did not exist 10 years ago. How old is yours here?
3 years.
2 years? 2013, so it's not yet 10 years. So you see there's something happening over time. This is not the way a university professor was going to speak 10, 15 years ago. Now he speaks a little different. In fact, universities never wanted to go where the public is. They just want you to go there because they just want you to pay school fees and do their thing. Now this guy is under pressure. He has to come to where you are because that's how he keeps his business going. He has to market the institution. And that's a good thing, isn't it? And I think gradually more and more of this gets to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, kudos Gilbert, and it's true. And in fact, when I saw him with the other gentleman smiling at the back there, when I went to Tech Beach, and I was part of the judge, first and foremost, I was proud because these are students who went through JQuat, and we know that we taught them. So I was extending the same partnership that we're talking about. This is Tech Beach now. They're pitching Yes, I've been invited as a judge, but in front of me are our products, and we have confidence in the products that we produce as JKUAT, and that's why for me I gave them 100%. So at JKUAT Mombasa we have so much success stories. It's only that one of the things that we found out in academia, we do not know how to shout about what we do. We have exchange programs. We've taken students to US. Recently we were with the Oman Maritime institution. They want us to have exchange programs where we take in students and so forth. So there's so many things happening. It's only that sometimes we probably don't shout about it. But
you have a Twitter account now. So it means you're styling up.
Yes, and the staff in charge of that is Mulwa Kevin over there. Yes. Thank you so much.
No, thank you so much. And I think another thing I just want to add on to that is that you've really validated the purpose and even why we have innovation hubs. Do you know you've gone through Tech Bridge, Close the Gap, Y Gap, Swahili Port? Those are 4 innovation hubs that have actually helped you enhance your entrepreneurial profile, at the same time also work on your business. So it's an encouragement to all of us. Let's join these innovation programs. They really are useful and they're very helpful. Even the innovation weeks, wherever it is, if you find your area is missing an entrepreneurship event, why not talk to one of the innovation hubs? Organize a community event. I'm sure Eva or Lillian, even Carol can send a representative to go and speak there and inspire the community. It doesn't take much effort. We said innovation is not complicated, right? Just having an open mind and be willing to collaborate and partner. On the aspect of partnership, I think you've seen now how that actually works. It's just one thing that leads to another and another, and now you see, you have the partnership. Even us at ASEC, we also now are signing an MOU with Kenya. Why? Because we've also realized that we need to map out all the innovation centers within Kenya so that you as an entrepreneur, you have access to the innovation hub right where you are. Right? And then also with the portal, you're actually able now to access different tools, resources. There's something called the County Regulatory Toolkit that will even help you to understand what is the compliance that looks like. If I'm going to open a shop maybe in Kilifi, maybe you want to expand your shop to Kilifi, what does the county licenses look like? Can you start planning ahead before you start scaling your business? So we'll try also as ASEC to collaborate and even with other partners at the same time also have an innovation house where you as an entrepreneur and as a startup can access everything under one shop. And I think it's a commitment from both me and Daktari in terms of that, and also with the assistance of our well-able members. Good work. Great work. And of course partnering with academia, because the importance of creating that pipeline of entrepreneurs, right? And I think on the question of failure, I think also it's good to be vulnerable, right? Personally, for me, I have failed, I think, in 10 businesses. When I left campus, I immediately joined my cousin. He was running an IT company. He told me, Masi, come be the founder, CEO. Back in the day, those titles were powerful, eh? So I was the founder and CEO of one company. I was the only employee doing everything. And guess what? That one failed, right? And then I went to another one, it also failed. But guess what? The learnings that I gained, you cannot compare. So I'd also encourage each one of us, can we also be authentic? Can we continue sharing our stories? The reason why we have Pwani Innovation Week is to bring us together to have these discussions. Right? Let's not only talk about Azimio and all the other stuff. There's other conversations that we can have together, right? Let's start having those conversations moving forward. I think he wanted to make just one quick comment and then I close the session. It's actually 2 p.m.
Good afternoon. My name is Matthew Egesa, and I'm a lecturer at the Technical University of Mombasa. I'm also a coordinator for the Blue Economy Innovation Hub at the university. But I'm glad, if you've noticed, most of the discussions at the Q&A have emanated from her comments. And even I'm pressured to make just 2 additions to that. One in terms of partnerships, and then in terms of whether to be employed or not. In terms of partnerships, the ecosystem, at least maybe for ASEC, the ecosystem in Mombasa is a lot more collaborative, very collaborative, I think, compared to other ecosystems. And the partnerships between academia, the hubs, the county government, because as you're saying, maybe Mashinani, it's good all of you are here right now. But from the county perspective, and they've been trying to, let's say in every other sub-county or something, to try distill it to even the barazas and all that. And even Close the Gap, they've been running some program in Likoni with vulnerable women and every other. So there is some progress in that end. And also in terms of whether you should be employed or not, it's nice to know yourself, your appetite level or risk averse, or I'm an employee. And I guess I'm a good employee at that. He was my boss, Tony Onwansa. And along that process, setting up the C4D, running down the trenches for the first Nairobi Innovation Week, and there's a lot of learning in that. She mentioned two, you're either an entrepreneur or an intrapreneur. Like right now, I'm in academia. I was facing the same challenges you're facing. You know, these structures, you know, you're not having this lab. How many here are either students or former students of TUM? By a show of hands. There are quite a number. Most of the startups in all this, the volunteers at Swahili Pod, the people curating this Pwani Innovation Week are from the TUM, JKUAT, and the learning institutions here. But there is something lacking also within the institutions. But instead of saying what can we, or lamenting about it, he was talking about that circle of influence. What can you do within your space to try effect the change? I may not maybe put up a Maggie tent, but maybe in this conversation you could get, just being in that space, there's a lot that you could do in that space. So at least just know yourself. Even maybe for the C4D, at the time it started, there are people who started as startups, quite a number fragmented, went into employment, and I think they figured themselves out. Some of them, it was maybe a group of 5, 2 came, and they really made a startup that really shoot. Others went, as he's talking about market force, they're doing well. So it depends. Just know exactly which sides, and it's sad, maybe our culture, maybe our parents are telling you, oh, by the societal expectations, by this time, oh, ulikuwa na first class, umeanza kufanya business yako hapa, and then there is another person, as you're saying, insurance, I don't know, a car or something like that. So at least knowing that and knowing the why you're actually doing that. And the satisfaction comes either way. Many thanks.
I just love how academia is so involved in the discussions. It's really, really good. I think you had a...
I just wanted to weigh last thing on partnership, and I think this is very important. For those who are working into partnership, especially innovators, be very careful so that you're able to do non-closure agreements. And on this we've seen some of our students have been, JKUAT students have been a victim of this. You know, we take them somewhere in an institution, and the first meeting is warm, you know, a lot of embracing and all that. Then after that, the idea is taken. And then when you follow up now, people don't want to meet you again. So those non-closure agreements are very, very important. Some of us, when we started that journey as right from the university, we learned the hard way. I hear Eric, we also learned the hard way in setting up. And you know, you're a computer science student, so you have so much ideas, so much you can do. You enter into partnership, and before you know it, you're exploited. So, and sometimes when you're exploited as a young person, you might grow up and also start exploiting others, which is not good. So non-closure agreements are very important. Thank you so much.
No, I think you touched on something very important in terms of compliance, you know, contracting. Those are very, very important. And that's why innovation hubs will actually take you through. Do you have an agreement with your customer? You know, such things. Yeah. I think that you wanted to add something? Okay. Great. So I think, honestly speaking, there's been a lot of insights. I have so many pages of red notes over here, but I'll just try to summarize. I think also touching on what he just mentioned, the last one, the entrepreneur profile. Understand who you are as an entrepreneur. Do you work best within an organization? And I think he's also been a very good employee, but creating value even within the organization, or being an external entrepreneur where you're actually working directly with a customer to design the problem. Looking at innovation from all sides, try to add value where possible. And I think also it's a challenge to my panelists. We have to demystify the buzzwords. Innovation, fourth industrial revolution, training, coaching. I mean, we all think we understand, but perhaps our target audience, thank you so much for that, by the way. Our target audience do not understand that. They want to hear, I will help you increase your revenue. I will help you grow your customer base. You know, those simple terms. So I think it's also a good challenge even for us at ASEC, as we go back to our 50 plus innovation hubs, to challenge them to use simple language that can be able to attract entrepreneurs across different regions, right? And I think also the aspect of touching on multidisciplinary approach. Let's continuously working with diverse groups. If you find an event in healthcare, please go. I know you're doing maybe making bags and in fashion, but let's go for that healthcare event. You never know. Try to challenge your thinking, as some of the panelists have said. Expose yourself to different things that are actually happening. That's the only way you can actually think of ideas. You can even begin now thinking about creating bags for the health industry, right? Cosmetics, who now can be your other customer segment? Maybe there's something that's missing. You can partner with someone who's doing natural oils, right? etc. So try and challenge yourself in different events. Also plug into communities. It's so, so much important. That's why with innovation programs, they put you in a cohort. It's not for the purposes of managing you, but actually to ensure that it's peer learning. You see, within this room, I don't even know, I feel like we should have flipped the classroom here, or the setting, because you have so much knowledge within each other. And I want to challenge Closega, please organize another forum, where now these guys now are the panelists, right? Let's hear from them. What are they saying? What are they seeing on the ground? And then now what can we do as innovation hubs, as academia, to now design relevant programs and come up with the right policies to ensure that the startups actually have the tools and knowledge and resources to help them grow. We are all here because of you. So hold us accountable. And also my good friend from Gearbox also is part of the being challenged. Great. So I want to say a big thank you. Carol, it's been fantastic. Dana, it's been amazing. I mean, comparing Kenya and Belgium, yeah. I think we also learned a new word. So we've been challenged. We have been challenged to go and learn that one.
That one.
Daktari, yes.
You are always very inspiring. But you know, this gentleman has actually made me reflect very deeply about what we're doing. I employed him close to 7 years ago, all right, as I was starting the first innovation hub in University of Nairobi. Then we set up the Nairobi Innovation Week. And he left and went to Pwani and started TUM, an innovation hub in TUM. And he's extremely active in the Pwani Innovation Week narrative, reproduction. And the challenge for him is he's going to produce somebody else who's going to go to Marsabit and do exactly the same thing. That which we are doing here, you might probably not recognize the impact. But 10 years down the road, you look at the picture, I'm like, damn, now me, I feel like retiring, because this guy, I even made sure he got a PhD, now he's a very senior guy. I'm like, now I've reproduced myself, all right? And you are going to inspire someone else, reproduce and reproduce. 10 years down the road, we're a totally different environment.
Thank you so much for that. Reproducing, replicating entrepreneurs in all that we do. And of course, you'll come and see us after. You might help someone. Okay. Because Dr. has asked.
Hi. I don't know if this had been addressed. I'm sorry I came late. But personally, I've had an experience. I believe myself to be one creative person. And there are times I've came up with ideas and shared with people that I thought we will walk the journey with. Unfortunately, you end up seeing them being implemented somewhere else. and that is life. So probably maybe if we will know how, when you're getting to engage people, because some things are a bit technical, or maybe you feel you do not have the capacity, so you opt to look for someone you feel will be able to walk the journey. Maybe if you could have a way of protecting yourself and protecting your idea, because I understand even at times going to keep it to do patents, it's a strenuous thing and it takes time. So are there means that maybe we can be able to use to protect our ideas so that they may not be stolen, and some people are reaping some good money out of our minds?
I think I can quickly respond on that one. Even if we can all have the same idea, it's how you implement. That's the key. That's the customer relationship that even the panelists have talked about. It's the packaging of information. So even if we all have the same idea, we want to open up cosmetic shops, how the implementation, that's the key idea. So, but of course the panelists are still here. They'll be here afterwards. You can still approach them and ask them questions. Guys, it is 2 p.m. It is 2 p.m. and I just want each and every one of you to give yourselves a clap, please. Please. You have been so attentive. My goodness, I didn't even realize time was flying. And thank you so much also for this one. It's very nice and cool, right? We don't even feel the heat of Mombasa. But thank you so much. I really just have to end here. But of course, with gratitude to my panelists, thank you for helping us meet the session objectives. We've really gone deep into all the pillars of innovation, understanding how to commercialize our ideas, and even giving us small snippets in terms of how entrepreneurs can even position themselves and their businesses to also build partnerships and also to get access to funding or even access to markets. So I just want to briefly let me just hand over to Eva, as I think we might be here until 3, if I don't go.
Well done. Let's give them a warm round of applause. What this has confirmed to me is that when people are having fun, you never notice that the time is going. So it's exactly 2:15, and we do need to have a meal. So also, I would like to ask our panelists that we do a photo, and I have something to just tell them thank you from the Boost Your Business team, but also summarize and say, I represent Boost, and I can no longer pitch one thing about Boost. Because ideally, what this ecosystem does is bring all of us together in different capacities. So now you have entrepreneurs, you have people who want to be employees,